Hello Internet, it's Roshi, and I'm here with another Genshin Impact video. If you caught my reaction to the 4.7 trailer and other teasers that we saw within that video, then you know that I had to make a separate video fully dedicating my time to the animated short, The Road Not Taken. Honestly, the original video you saw me react to, that was my initial reaction. However, since then, I have seen this thing at least 6 more times. And honestly, I think every time I've watched it, I've shed some tears. There is a specific moment in this animated short that chokes me up every single time. So I'm getting ready to cry again. This breakdown may not be as lore heavy as most people are expecting. I'm still going to give my point of view, but I really do want to talk about the animation, how things are set up, what it could possibly mean, symbolism, some techniques that were used, so on and so forth. I have not seen We Will Be Reunited, and I know a lot of people really suggest for me to witness that first to get a bigger idea of story stuff of what's actually happening here before actually analyzing this. The thing is though, is that I will eventually see that, and when I do, I can always revisit it. So what I say is not set in stone. Take it with a grain of salt and enjoy it for what it is. Anyway, I'm gonna play the video. There will be pauses, there will be skipping around, all that good stuff, and that's just what it is. I have a few pages of notes, and I'm sure I could have taken more if I spent more time on it, but you know, time is of the essence with these things, and I'm doing my best. So let's get into it. I am going to be pausing, talking over all this stuff in general. I think I already said that. Just saying it again, just in case if you skipped it. If you want the initial reaction, go watch the other video. It'll be over there somewhere. Do that thing. Thank you. First up already, with these opening shots, what I think is really cool, it's interesting, right? Because, of course, you have the characters on screen, and your eye is guided to their faces. And you have the dandelions and such, and other plants, and everything is kind of flowing back and forth, and in the direction of the character. Your eye is guided to the character, right? That's a no-brainer, of course. It's the most detailed, interesting thing on screen. Something that you may not have noticed is that this grass is very painterly. And what they do is that they are animating clumps of it at a time. Because of course, you can't really animate every single blade of grass. I mean, you could, but you're going to need a big team for that, and every one of those members are going to go insane. So what they're doing here, for example, see? There's this section. There's this section. Some skewing to them, right? If you've ever worked in an art program, but you can select your object, right? And then it appears in a box. And you can like turn the box, and then you can tilt it or skew it, and then it becomes more doing that with the animation, some tweening, and they're sort of just making it have that flowy like motion, but in chunks. Okay, let's continue. All right. For shots like this, of course, when you see the single blades of grass and the flowers, those are being individually animated, which is very nice. What I love about this animated short in general, though, sorry, I talked about grass way too much. I haven't touched it in quite some time, so I miss it. I'm going to talk about it. The big thing about this animated short, the theme that is carried out throughout the entire thing, are the parallels. There are so many of them here. Aether and Lumine, they are different, yet they share similar emotions in this short, because of course they would. But not only that, you have time of day in the scenes that they're in, their placement, just like where they are in the world itself, so on and so forth. So here coming up, you have Lumine in her outfit, and it's very day themed, right? It's light. Aether, it's dusk, and he has his night theme outfit. They're dawn and dusk, they're opposites.
Try
when it comes to animation, I've said this a billion times and I'm going to keep on saying it. Music, sound effects are huge. Audio is massive when it comes to animation, and people might not think that because animation can be really good without those things. However, in my opinion, it is the music and sound effects, just the audio engineering, that really make something work. You could be watching something that's great, but if it has a bad dub, if it has really crappy music, if the sound effects sound way off, then it takes you out of that experience, no matter how good the animation is. So I am very happy that they have Aimer, which I didn't recognize at first because, you know, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to recognizing music and all that jazz, but they have Aimer doing this. That feels amazing. And I'm pretty sure she is the reason why, part of the reason why I break out into tears at a specific point in this animation, which you will probably see later. Anyway, this scene here, I love this because we have, once again, that new and old feel. I think despite how it's introduced, because yeah, despite showing Aether first, it's overgrown. The rock is mossy. The grass looks thicker. There are way more trees. The trees are bigger themselves. And once again, it's later in the evening. We go to Lumine. You know, grass, not as thick. Trees, smaller trees, not as many. And there's still moss on the rock. But the rock doesn't look as worn down as it did before. Oh yeah, see, look, you got mossy rock right there. And it's not as. I mean, it could be the lighting and the colors used, but this is showing that passage of time, which is great storytelling because it's showing how Lumine went through this adventure first, before Aether woke up. She went through these same areas and she experienced them when, you know, relatively still old, but not as old by the time Aether had arrived. Once again, it's that parallel, it's that change that's there. It's that night and day, the beginning and the end kind of theme happening. And I'm going to keep pointing it out when I see it. I might miss, there's going to be some things that I miss out on. Probably some Easter eggs that you guys are aware of that I'm not, because of my point in the story and not actually witnessing We Will Be Reunited. But I think I caught on quite a bit more than maybe you'd even expect. But that's up for you to decide. All right. When I saw this, this made me go, what? I have to talk about this. All right. I'm going to be 100% honest. Don't know what this is. I'm imagining some catastrophic event that Lumine went through, whether or not she was by herself at the time. I think she was, because we see the whole Dainsleif introduction later, which I'll get into that more. But here, I don't know if this has a name. It probably does. The thing that I picked up on is that we're using a lot of red. And I'm guessing that this is the moon. A blood moon. A crimson moon, if you will. I do not know anything about this crimson moon other than that it was mentioned in Arlecchino's, I think it was in her collected miscellany, where they mentioned a crimson moon and how she is connected to such a thing. Apparently, it's related to some kind of event as well, or maybe it spawned from this event, and Lumine was present during it. So this is something that happened before Aether had showed up. How often it happens, I don't know, but I imagine this Crimson Moon thing is very rare. Maybe it doesn't happen again. Maybe it will. Maybe it did. I don't know. But whatever happened, Lumine was there for it. Look at it. It's all sorts of dramatic. Showing these stairs, old and new. Lumine, it's not overgrown. The rocks, the stone stairs are in better shape. Let's go backwards, and now we see Aether. You know, stones worn, overgrown, busted. Time has gone by. Okay, and then we have coming up Yeah, this. Okay. So now this is doing the parallel with the scene that we had before where it was just Lumine and the red sky and crimson moon. They're breaking this up to show these parallels and to show them on their own struggling in some way, one way or the other, before they meet their companion. So you have Lumine with the crimson moon, lots of bright red, very heavy on that red with the color, and then we have Aether here, and it's raining. It's a shot looking up at the sky through a clearing, and it's very gray. So there's opposites happening here. Something very bright and flashy, and something that is just muted. I don't actually know what event this could possibly be either. I imagine it's just Aether going through something before the game actually starts. Maybe just being anxious about being in the world on his own. It starts to rain, looking up at the sky like, oh crap, it's raining. I need to find shelter. You know, it might not be a big event, but maybe it is. It could be. We don't know. I don't know. Maybe you do. And although these scenes are very opposite as far as colors go and positioning of camera, it still has a very similar feeling of stress, of anxiety, something urgent happening based on their movements. Even over, I can find you out. Okay, now here in this shot, we have Aether fishing, and we have Lumine feeding birds. Once again, opposite things happening here. Aether's trying to get food, while Lumine is feeding. And this is the introduction of both companions. Paimon was found when Aether caught her while fishing. So the screen changes to this essentially right when that was about to happen. Here we have Dainsleif walking into Mondstadt with Lumine, who's, my guess, not with him yet at this point in time. And this is where they make their introductions, where they actually meet for the first time. You can see how Lumine is kind of minding her own business, doing her thing, and then she suddenly looks around as, you know, she senses someone approaching. So there you go. I also really love the transition of the birds flying around on the bridge to Aether looking up in the middle of Mondstadt at the birds flying in the sky. That's a very nice transition there. I believe they do that thing where, let's take a look. Okay, so they guide your eye because you see Lumine, you see this figure. Dainsleif is the focus of the shot. Lumine is kind of washed out a little bit, but it's on purpose because they want you to look at Dainsleif, right? It's like, oh, it's Dainsleif! And he has that really high contrast with everything else. And by the time, you know, the back of his head comes up on screen, it switches and the birds fly from that direction across. And it also works because you know that there were plenty of birds on the bridge before and how they were like over here. So you're looking, the birds fly up, transition, and more birds flying to where those birds just flew up. So it's like your eye is constantly going in a circle at the center of the screen. It's just, the placement is great. Oh, I love that shot. Oh, God. You have Aether standing on the other side of the fountain, and when the water comes down, you see Lumine in that reflection, and she's not looking in the same direction. This is the reflection of the back of her head. So, we'll see in a second, but it's kind of like as if Aether had spotted her and she doesn't notice, kind of thing. I know that's not the case. They're not actually in the same place at the same time. They've walked a similar path, but at the same time, it's not the same exact path. The road not taken. But what I like here is that she has this turn, where she does turn to face in that direction, as if it's like, he could be there. You know. Throughout this whole thing, there's moments where they're obviously kind of like in crowds, and they're looking around and stuff, and we'll get to that, but it's kind of like, what if he just showed up? And he was right there, standing on the other side of that fountain. And then it's like, you know, time goes by, years later, and he is. It's just that. It's just not syncing up to their favor. Aether was literally standing over here, looking this way. Lumine, much earlier, over here with their bag of groceries, Dainsleif getting some eats, you know, and just kind of taking in her surroundings and such. This is such a good shot. It's such a good shot. I also love the petals, how the petals were floating across the screen, and they keep that continuity of cutting to the fountain. Looking down, you still see the petals and the ripples in the water as well. All right, love that. Oh God, they do such a good job of making it seem like they are in the same place when they are, just not at the same time. I'm gonna keep saying that. I just love that so much. You have Lumine and Dainsleif outside. Lumine, of course, not looking the happiest, which I'm going to talk about later as well. And there's fireworks being set off. I believe they're in Chinxe Village or something. Chinxe Village. Yeah, I think it's somewhere in Liyue, right? And the fireworks are going off, and I love how when one just pops in the air above Lumine and Dainsleif, it cuts to this scene where Aether and Paimon are in some kind of inn at the moment, some kind of room. Definitely Liyue, based on the architecture that we're seeing around us. And you have that flash of light in the sky from fireworks happening outside. So once again, great, beautiful transition. Let's see that again. Fireworks, bam! Bam! You also know it's Liyue based on Aether's lights that he has on his outfit. They are yellow right now, so he is currently Geo Aether. So we are definitely in Liyue because it's yellow. I know there's a moment where it's purple, so they'd be in Inazuma, and then later the green, the Dendro color. So that's cool. Funny thing though, Lumine's colors don't change. I believe they are just glowing white the entire time, which is interesting, and maybe that's something that is revealed in these events that I haven't seen as of yet. But my guess is because she met Dainsleif, and Dainsleif isn't fond of the gods. So why would she be rocking, you know, exploring the world with him and such when he's so against the idea of the gods? I don't think she's going to go up to any of these statues and absorb the power. I think she's capable of doing it, but I think maybe she was convinced to not take their power. I keep saying gods, I meant archons, you know what I mean. But yeah, that's kind of the feeling I get. Either Lumine's been not having powers this time, she kept the powers that she originally had, or didn't have any, and in the process of trying to get something, kind of went down the wrong path and became the Abyssal Twin. But once again, that's getting into territory that I don't know about. I'm just speculating here. Paimon's cute. All right, I said it. That doesn't save her from bothering me sometimes, but they animated her very cute. This is not what got my attention though during the scene. What did it is just this in general. It's just the idea of both of the siblings in various scenes in this where it's like at night and you think that they'd be sleeping or going to bed. Like right there, Paimon's asleep, Aether should be sleeping, and he's just up all night thinking. He's just up all night sad for and missing his sibling. And we have plenty of shots where Lumine is doing the same thing, where she's just up late and they're sad. And then this explains their idle animation in game that now I feel bad for getting angry at. Because I just didn't remember that at all, other than picking your twin. And yeah, and Aether, if you interrupt me one more time, I took it as in like, oh, you're confident and you're bored. Cool. No, it's really because they're up all night stressing out and depressed. Oh man, relatable. Anyway, let's let's continue on.
How I feel and see what I see.
All right, hold on 1 second. Feet enjoyers, you're welcome. Walking barefoot in the water, being sad. Yeah, under the moonlight and such, and Dainsleif over here in the shadows just kind of doing his own thing, watching 100%, but also just sort of doing his own thing. Dainsleif does not seem to be the person to reach out emotionally. I haven't met him in game, but just based on the collective miscellaneous stuff, this guy is very in his head. He If you haven't seen my personality quiz, I recommend you go watch that. I think it's a very fun video. Yeah, in that quiz, I mentioned my MBTI personality being as INTJ, and turns out that Dainsleif has the same personality type as I do. So, although we are not exactly the same, I definitely think I have somewhat of an understanding as to why he's not the type that would go up and try to be super positive and console someone whenever they were sad. In my personal experience, we are more so the type of people that are going to let things play out, and we're there for you if you need us, but we're definitely more logic based than anything. So I think Dainsleif's mentality here is very much like, not that he's not being supportive, but he's showing support in a different way, where it's as, you take the time you need, get it out, and then we move on. We press on. We continue going forth. And I'm sure he's got plenty of his own stuff that he's working out as well. We've heard the collected miscellanies. This guy's been through some stuff. So I can see some people being like, Dainsleif, he's not being helpful. He's not like Paimon. Paimon's all cheerful and optimistic, and he's just, man, it must be so sad to be adventuring with Dainsleif. They're not helping each other at all. And that's not necessarily the case. It also depends on Lumine's character as well. If she is someone that needs that comforting, then yeah, Dainsleif is probably not the best choice to have with you as a companion. So maybe that is a problem. But it wouldn't be a problem in general for everybody. If Lumine wanted to talk about it, she'd probably be next to Dainsleif, and you'd see them kind of having some kind of conversation. She obviously wandered off into the middle of this cool little marshy area.
Know that I will always try, funny your rhythm and rhyme. Though the nights are long and dark, I see you.
It's so good. It's so good. Okay. I love the steps. I love the close up on the feet with the terrain constantly changing underneath of them. That's great. Hold on. I want to look at that again and see exactly how they did that, if I can tell.
Know that I will always try, funny.
Okay. Hold on.
Rhythm and rhyme.
Awesome.
Though the nights are long and dark, I see.
Ooh, that's hard. I'm wondering if they made like a close-up walk cycle and like just zoomed in on the legs and then kind of swapped out the environment underneath them. And I guess you could argue like, no, because you see a footprint being made. And I'm like, it's so quick. Like, did we actually see the imprint of the foot going into the sand and coming out, and you see the footprint made like a kind of like a before and after thing? Or is it just the foot leaving the sand and the footprint left behind? Because you could totally just have like a painting underneath with the animation of the foot leaving, revealing the footprint. You know what I mean? All right. Once again, Inazuma, he's got the purple. Great shot, by the way. Okay, coming off the stairs. Step in. Okay. Aha! Yup, that answers my question. Okay. It's a single walk cycle, and they swapped the environment underneath them. That's such a cool trick.
Though the nights are long and dark, I see you shining bright.
Okay, oh man. Ah, this! I was wondering, okay. Yeah, I love the reflection. I love when they do reflection stuff so much. Because you have people around them. You know, there was a person in the foreground that he walked by. There's someone over here and their reflection is in the water. And you have Aether walking, and you have Lumine in the reflection walking in the same direction. However, Lumine stops walking and Aether keeps going. So that hints to me that there was something that happened here that caused Lumine to actually stay. Something had happened in Sumeru, I think this is. And Aether continues his journey, right? Not saying Lumine's journey ended here, but perhaps Lumine was here for some other purpose or something. Or it's, once again, the road not taken. There's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of similar stuff that they've gone through and done, but there's a lot of opposites, and not everything is the same exact that they've both experienced. So this is just cool, where it's kind of like, you know, there's this message of, even though we're not together, we still are. Oh, but there's just some things that kind of hold them back from time to time, preventing them from being together all the time. Their path is not entirely the same. Okay, awesome. Let me go back a little bit before that reflection scene, which is so good. Yeah, Inazuma, Lumine just crying or upset before this this altar here. Oh man, I'll talk about it more. But I'm really glad that I'm seeing this perspective of Lumine, because I started the game playing as Aether, and now we're actually getting a glimpse of things that we recognize as the character that we've played as, or at this place, but we're also seeing Lumine's perspective. And you know, based on this, that there has been a passage of time. Lumine is with Dainsleif. In the trailer for the game itself, the Teyvat trailer, the Teyvat preview trailer, whatever it's called, where Dainsleif is narrating the whole thing and he's spoiling the entire game in his cryptic way of explaining things. And at the end, he is referring to Lumine. That was his traveling partner. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I love this take on it. I love this point of view, because I'm getting to see more of a character who I have so many questions about. So that really makes me, I don't know, like there's some, although this is a very melancholy, like just an overall depressing feeling that I have from watching this, there's still something really wondrous and beautiful about it. Just seeing this other perspective, and the just the journey that she went through, and actually seeing emotions from this character who I haven't had a real chance of seeing as of yet. So to me, it means a lot. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. All right. So you didn't think I would pick up on this, did you? You didn't think I would see. Not that I entirely know what it means, but I remember a version trailer, which I believe was involving Dainsleif, one of the Dainsleif quests. And it was also the whole thing where I picked up on this Hilichurl curse just by watching the trailer. I'm very proud of that moment. This is the mirror from that version trailer. But there is a version trailer where they show this mirror and it breaks, or it's broken. So I like how it pieced that in there. This seems like a pretty important thing that has happened within the game. So I'm glad that we're seeing a little bit of that in here. Hi guys, sorry to interrupt. This is Editor Roshi coming at you with another crackpot theory. I couldn't help myself. When I was trying to remember what version trailer I was referring to, I had to look back into my old videos. I didn't look up anything else because I don't want to be spoiled. So I looked back into my older videos, my older reactions, and I saw version trailer 3.5 and I decided to rewatch it. And oh man, there are so many more clues I think I'm connecting dots to that I'm picking up right now, and I'm going to explain these thoughts real quick. And you don't have to tell me if I'm right or wrong, because I'm going to find out whether, one way or the other when I play it. But I'm thinking, based on what Paimon is saying, you know, you have a surprised look on your face. There was the shadow of Aether's head approaching the mirror. You know, Dainsleif, I think he saw you. In this animated short, there's a lot of hijinks happening with reflections. I think Aether may have seen Lumine in that mirror. I don't know if that's the case. Like I said before, you don't have to tell me if it's right or wrong. It sounds crazy to me just saying it, but I mean, damn, if that's what that is, holy crap. Anyway, I just had to pause and express my thoughts because this happened during the editing process, and yeah, man, I'm that's I'm a nut job. All right, enjoy the rest of the breakdown. All right, let's continue here. Okay, we're getting to the part that makes me cry every time. I feel choked up. We're being shown Aether getting upset. He is obviously crying here because his body's kind of shaking a bit. And then, yep. Yeah, okay. These shots are snippets of Aether's mind, and I believe they are either memories or what could have been. I believe that they are more so along the lines of memories, spending time with his sister. It's from his perspective, and it's just showing Lumine here. Like, you know, he's putting the flower in her hair and stuff. She's like hanging over him as he's like waking up and stuff. You know, they're playing in the water. She's splashing him. And then just all these other great shots. And then we get to the part that makes me choke up. Here. Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay. I'm gonna laugh instead of cry. Oh man. Okay, so I'm still gonna cry. I'll talk through the tears. Fuck it. There is a moment where you have Aether remembering, just having all these memories flood, where he's remembering Lumine there, and then it shows the opposite of that. It shows Lumine, not the opposite, but you know what I mean. Then it shows Lumine's perspective, and she's having a breakdown, and she has the memories, and it's the other point of view. The perspective switches, and it's from her eyes, and those same instances we just saw with Aether, but now it's her, and playing in the water, seeing him like fall into the water. He did her hair, she's doing his hair. Just having a conversation under the night sky. And then it shows, sorry, yeah, this is beautifully done, because not just the emotion in the face and eyes, but also what it transitions into, where, I mean, it's so powerful. It makes me respect Lumine as a character so much more, because before I'm just like, my twin turned into an evil bitch, you know, like that's like what the game is sort of telling me at the moments I'm in right now with my playthrough. I know that's not entirely the case, but that's just kind of like what it feels like without me knowing more. And to show that Lumine cares as deeply as she does is just really powerful, and is just pulls at the heartstrings very tightly. And you could tell that she's having her breakdown, and it transitions rather into water, and it starts to rain, and that rain starts to get heavy. So if that's not symbolic for sadness, for crying your eyes out, I don't know what is. And that's just super freaking, like, I keep saying powerful, but it just is. It just is. It's such a good cinematic thing to do. They did something similar in the Arlecchino animated short. The friend collapses and it shows Arlecchino. It starts to rain, but you don't get to see Arlecchino's face. That rain symbolized Arlecchino actually crying, actually upset. But then it suddenly stops and things become still. And I think I explained how that represents like her mentality, just traumatized for more than one reason at this point in time. But then the rain stops and it becomes like a broken moment, just gloom yet sinister undertone with like the imagery that it showed. So you have that here. So it's similar, but it's very different. Here it's just full on rain. It's just depresso espresso. You know what I mean? Like it's hard hitting. And the combination of Lumine's body motions, of how like jerky they seem, and just like the clenching teeth and the watering eyes, that up close shot of that, transitioning into this shot of the rain just building and pouring down, and at the same time you hear the angelic voice of Aimer just going ham, and I'm over here like, how can you stay dry-eyed in this moment with everything else just building up? Like, don't get me wrong, it's sad seeing Aether get upset and remembering things too, but I've played as Aether and like I get it, right? But now I'm getting the perspective that I don't normally get to see, that a lot of players haven't gotten to see. So, man, okay, I had to explain that. That's why this makes me a crybaby. Whew, that was hard to get through. I'm gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. Okay, yep. Once again, symbolism. You have these foxes together. You have these birds together. Snow melting away. You know, once again, I mean, I've talked about before how snow and cold and stuff is like frozen, something that's like resisting gloom. But even the lyrics and the imagery are showing that like that doesn't last forever. Seasons continue, times change, the sadness will melt away like the snow. So this is like a more still sad, but it is like there is a little bit of hope being represented here in this shot.
When alley breaks, have you taken off? Are you ready?
I've killed these things. That's it.
On your way, no matter where you are.
Okay, so that was green. At first, I wanted to say this is either early Natlin, but it was green, so it could be Sumeru, right? This could be somewhere Sumeru. I was thinking Natlin because these kind of looked like the plateaus we saw in the preview trailer. And then we have these trees, and I felt like there was like a little bit of that prehistoric vibe going on. But this could just be a place in Sumeru, or it's early Natlin where they are just arriving and have yet to make it to a statue to get the pyro vision powers, right?
I've come with you this far. I'm never really lost. Our paths we shall cross.
Okay. Oh man, okay. They do something interesting with the storytelling here. The very beginning of this animated short, we start with the stars drawn on the beach. This is the plan. This is what I want, right? And then at the end here, it's just symbolic for there being like, it can be a reality. It does exist. We will be reunited. I also like to say how in the beginning of this, Lumine and Aether, with their shots that they were in, Aether's shots were mostly towards dusk, towards night, right? They both had different shots of them, day and night, and so on and so forth. But at the beginning of this animated short, Aether was at dusk, Lumine was at dawn, essentially, right? Day and night. And they have those themes going on with their clothes, all that jazz. I talked about that. And then at the end here, it swaps. We have Aether, daybreak, daytime, Lumine, nightfall, dusk, becoming night. So, man, it's those opposites again. I have to talk about the companions as well. Paimon urging Aether to like, come on, let's go. We have places to see. Let's keep going. You know, like actually taking his hand and pulling him up to his feet to keep going, right? And then he does. Here, you have Lumine sitting down, Dainsleif coming over, and he gives her the shoulder grab, the pat on the shoulder. Time to move. Yeah, it's not like the happy, like, come on, adventure, but it's still like, hey, keep going. Don't stop. And he doesn't, because this guy walks super fast. Look at this guy. There is still that reassurance from Dainsleif, at least, to be like he could have left camp. He could have just walked ahead at any point in time during any of this. But he's still there, right? It's not as cheerful as Paimon makes it seem to be when she's doing her thing. But he's still kind of like, okay, enough sitting. We gotta go. And you know, and that's his way of dealing with his shit, too. So there's that. Okay. I'm going to take one more look over. And just to see if there's anything else I want to talk about. Let's just go through it. Okay. I love the subtle motions in their hair. They did a good job with adding weight to the characters. You know, like his hand falling down by his side, or how Lumine kind of like leans forward. Catching Paimon, meeting Dainsleif. Both in Mondstadt. The fireworks. I didn't talk about it. Sorry. The lighting is so good. The lighting is so good in this. How you have it just reflecting on the grass. Just good focus of where lighting would come from. So, like, of course it's from the fire of the fireworks and stuff. And let me just see one thing. All right, good, yeah. And it was shifting a little bit, like, because it was flickering light, right? It wasn't just like a static light source. It was moving. So that's awesome. Anyway, continuing. Boom, boom, boom. Boom? Wasn't there one more? There wasn't. There it goes. The watery eyes. Stepping into water. More watery eyes. Know that I will always try when you're with them and right through the night so long and dark. I don't think I mentioned. I talked about the steps a bunch. I love this here. It's like they're looking through the crowd for each other. And there's the motion where Lumine does this turn and then it pulls back and it's like Aether running as if he just turned around. Right before his steps off the bridge. Let's see. Right here. She moves and then he moves. I love that.
Long and dark, I see you shining bright. And no matter where you are, you've come with me this far, showing the way when all is falls apart.
Yeah. Interesting that they showed I'm just hesitating so I don't cry again. Out here in the middle of the desert of Sumeru, I imagine, you have these two shooting stars overhead. Boom. Boom. Oh boy, this part. Music swells. Super sad face. Angelic vocals. Rain. Okay.
When the snow all melts away,
Hope.
and the ice finally breaks, have you taken off? Are you ready on your way?
I like the focus. There's a word for this, but there's the focus up in the foreground, and then it blurs, and the focus changes to further on, and you see it's on Aether now, looking at that sunrise. Blurred vision. Paimon pulls him up, urges him to keep going. Dainsleif approaching Lumine, gives her the like, let's go, and she gets up and continues to follow. The two stars, just like we saw at the beginning, but real. What a beautiful freaking animated short. I know that Ufotable, whatever they are, they got their projects. They're making the Genshin Impact anime. I have no preference whether or not that continues to be the case. If Hoyoverse ever wanted to be like, you know what, let's just make our own animation department, then cool. It could be a music company that also makes animation that also has a game, apparently. You know what I mean? I do not care. This is very, very well done. Now, the next thing that I would want from them, I would love to actually see more character interaction. We saw a little bit with the Arlecchino's animated short, a little bit, but I actually want to see characters having a conversation. For the most part, that was just a lot of people talking at each other. I mean, there was a little bit, but it wasn't. I want like an extended version. You know what I mean? Not necessarily of Arlecchino, but of someone, some people. Even if it's Aether and Paimon, or Lumine and Dainsleif, or Raiden and Yaimiko. Anyone. I want to see an animated short where we take some characters and we actually have a relatively extended conversation about something. We've seen some combat stuff. We know that they're great with building on emotions and scenery, but now I want to see how intelligent their writing can actually be in this animated form. That's the next step that I want to see in animated short version. Ufotable's anime, because I'm sure that'll come someday when I am like 65 or whatever, but whenever that does, I'll be ready for it. Whatever animation team they got to do this stuff and the previous stuff, I just want that to go ham. Keep releasing these shorts for your updates. It's huge. I mean, I am just floored. This was a lot of fun to look through. I'm sure I've missed plenty of other Easter eggs, things that I wouldn't even know about. Like I said, haven't seen We Will Be Reunited, whatever that is. But I will, and when I do, and I witness the other Dainsleif stuff, you can count on me making more videos talking about what I discover in those, and even referencing back to this if I have to. As long as you guys show interest by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and supporting me in all the ways that you do. Thank you so much for being here. It means a lot as always, and until next time, shine on, you crazy diamonds. Later.